Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you guys so much for joining me and Sherry. What is up, Sherry?
Hey,
So, we want to talk about the movie Yesterday, which, if you guys haven't seen this movie yet, it's a really good movie. I enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it, Sherry?
I loved it.
Okay, so for a lot of the people in the Mandela effect affected community, this movie has a lot of parallels with a very real phenomenon known as the Mandela effect. Now, where it differs a little bit is in this movie, the Beatles no longer exist. There's other items that no longer exist. We'll get into that pretty soon. So if you don't want any spoilers with that, not a big deal. It's just little items that no longer exist. You might want to tune it out. But I definitely recommend this movie. The parallels with the Mandela effect would probably be, for me, just things being different than we remember it in this reality. And that being, uh, like, if you think of the movie Shazam no longer existing with Sinbad in it, that would be more like this movie. But of course, with the Mandela effect, we find things have just changed or they're different. They still exist, but in a new or different way. So that's probably the biggest difference I see in this movie. But definitely would recommend it.
Well, at first, I'd like to add that when he said that there was just like a couple other little things missing, that it was huge things in my reality. Can I say what it was or no?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
It was Coca-Cola and cigarettes. And
No
I
longer
mean,
exist.
I could not live without that. And so to me, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, what would I do? That really made me think about that. But
So overall, we found some connections with Michael Jackson, which was really cool. So I'm going to let you explain sort of the parallels with us, and then we'll get into some of these. They're called Easter eggs, if you will, little hidden things in the movie that only those who put it in there or those who see what they're trying to sort of portray in the movie. Some people see it as negative, but as we talked in the wheat and the tares, we'll get into that. There's always going to be some good and there's going to be some bad. There's going to be some truth. There's going to be some lies, all mixed together. And it's really up to us to notice these things and decipher it. And so stick around because this gets into some really deep stuff that is totally awesome. And all right, so the Michael Jackson connection.
Shane had noticed whenever he watched it that the main character's name was Jack and that his dad was not really being supportive of his music career and called him Jacko at one point. And then what I noticed was Sony Records had bought back all the Beatles catalog after Michael Jackson died from the Jackson estate and then made this movie with his, with the Beatles music.
Of course, Michael Jackson legitimately bought the catalog, the Beatles catalog, but they were upset about it because they lost a lot of money and he wouldn't sell it back to them. But there's conspiracies going around, and I'll be carefully wording this, that they took him out just for the sole purpose because there's so much money wrapped up in the Beatles catalog that they took him out just so they could buy it back and own all the Beatles catalog again. So I think that's an important part to, not that we say we believe any of that or anything, but that is one conspiracy going around out there that they took him out so that they could buy the Beatles catalog and that he like stole it. So in this movie, when the main character Jack realizes that the Beatles no longer exist, he starts doing all of their songs again, playing it on the guitar or on the piano, and recreating all of the Beatles songs again because they're great songs and he wants them not to be lost. But at the same time, he feels like he's being dishonest because it's not his songs, but he's having to portray them as if they are his songs because they were never written by the Beatles in this reality in which he lives. And we won't get into how this timeline shift, if you will, happened. You can watch the movie for that. But an event happens. He wakes up and the Beatles no longer exist. So he starts recreating all their songs. He gets popular off of the Beatles songs. And at some point, and I'll go to the screenshot right here, he's trying to play a song for his dad. And as he walks by, his dad says, "Carry on, Jacko." So that's one of the little Easter eggs that they're sort of making this parallel between the character Jack and Michael Jackson. I also have a few other screenshots here. You can see in this one scene here that Sherry noticed that he's playing on the piano, but they have this felt fedora in the background sort of lined up on his head. And of course, everybody knows Michael Jackson is known for wearing a fedora. This is another scene here. He's actually performing in Russia. Okay, so for all of you who watched the video about the wheat and the tares. I thought this was a really cool idea here. Looks like you have some harvesters here. You've got some wheat, and then you've got, what is that in the background, Sherry?
See the factory that I worked silhouetted in the back. Memories are gray, but now they're really coming back.
So you got the factory silhouette in the back, and then the next line is actually talking about memories. So we've got this direct connection with memories, the Mandela effect. Why would they show this big painting as this lady walks in here? We've got the wheat there, we've got the harvesters there, and to me, this was all pointing to not only heaven, the song Heaven by Warrant that she noticed, but also the parable of the wheat and the tares. And I think this is important because in the parable of the sower that I pointed out in that same video, the seeds were the words, and the words were truth. And the words were planted, and the wheat and the tares were allowed to grow up together. The workers asked if he wanted to pull out, if they wanted him to pull out the weeds from the wheat, and he said basically, no, let them grow up together. They'll be plucked out later. And another way of looking at that is let it be. So in meditation, I came across this movie scene. I missed it, totally missed it, because I was thinking of the Jacko part. But in this movie, listen to what he says here.
This is like watching Da Vinci paint the Mona Lisa right in front of your bloody eyes.
Okay, so he said it's like watching Da Vinci paint the Mona Lisa right in front of your eyes. And as you guys know, the Mona Lisa is another Mandela effect. If you think about it, watching it being painted right in front of your eyes, when Mona Lisa went from having this enigmatic expression on her face where you couldn't tell if it was really a smile or whatever, now we see she's clearly smiling, and it is, much like watching Da Vinci paint the Mona Lisa right in front of her eyes. So when that came to me in meditation, and then I noticed the lyrics to the song Let It Be, which is the song he's trying to play on the piano there, it says, whisper words of wisdom. The words are the seeds from the sower, if you will. Let it be. He says, let it be, let them grow up together. So one other thing that came to me in the meditation was that whenever there's anything that is truth there, there's going to be lies mixed in, there's going to be the wheat and the tares, and that if you do notice the tares, then you can expect to find the wheat. But sometimes we get too focused on the lies or the deception that we miss the hidden truth that lies within. And I get emails from other people that are starting to notice things are sticking out to them as being, negative, and it even seems like the more powerful people are, the more they see these sorts of things. It's sort of like the sides of a coin. The bigger the head side is, the bigger the tail side is going to be. So what did you think when you first came across this image in the movie, Sherry?
I thought that it was scared me because it had some similarities to some things that I had went through back around 2015, around the time that I had found the Mandela effect, and I was like kind of in a fearful place about that and some other things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what you were able to point out to me is that a lot of people won't understand this, but with Michael Jackson, I have like an anchor connection plus the silhouette in the back with Janie Lane, which are like my spirit guides.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave me comfort from the fearful things that I saw. And then I was able to see the other things kind of like, what you were saying.
I
Well,
just noticed the leopard print on her shirt, which is like Def Leppard. You're a big Def Leppard fan too, so it's like all there. You know what I mean? And it's so cool that the anchor's there, the wheat is there. Of course, these masks, they look like, I don't know, they could be scary. But at the same time, here we have the positive stuff hidden right in there with it. Of course, the
mhm.
anchor and the from heaven. We have the factory silhouetted in the back. We have the wheat poking up. It appears that they're bundling up the wheat, or they're harvesting, which is what connected me to that actual wheat and tares parable from the Bible, and this time that we're in being harvest time. It appears to be some type of harvest that they're going through here. So then another connection we noticed was, there it is in the background. You see that? Jaws.
No bite out of it, huh?
I don't think so.
This is definitely a Mandela effect movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, but we also have what was the other Jaws one? We're going to need a bigger boat. You're going to need a bigger boat change.
Right. Yes. I really did like the fact that in the end, overall, the Mandela affected were portrayed as very kind hearted, loving people.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, so there's some deep connections with the Mandela effect in this, and then even these deeper messages with "Let It Be," and everything being exactly as it's supposed to be, the wheat and the tares being allowed to grow up together. Of course, the servant saying, "Do you want us to pluck out these weeds or these lies?" And he's like, "No, just let it be. Let them be for now." Because I believe this time we're in, that the whole Mandela is a part of, Mandela effect, is a revelation or an apocalypse, a revealing. The veil is thinning. And I think all of this is pointing to that, in my opinion.
Well, one thing I wanted to say is that when all of the Mandela effect stuff came up, and I was very fearful, and then I found Shane's channel and all the people in the chat room and everything started getting better for me. I was looking at the painting and I got afraid, and then you started being more positive, and then all of a sudden I saw these other things.
Yeah, like there's this picture, famous picture here, where you see the two profiles of the face, or you can switch and you can notice the vase in the middle, but you don't see them both at the same time. So if you're focused on the faces, the vase becomes the background to the profile face. But if you're focused on the vase, then the faces on the side become the background to the vase.
It really is becoming more and more clear to me that it's all about your perception.
Yeah, totally. So that is it for this special video about yesterday. And I also had the whole being in the now thing. And you got yesterday, the movie. You've got tomorrow, the Annie change. And we have now. So I don't know. It just seems to be all tied together. So lots of love and light to each and every one of you. Have a good one. Peace.
Bye.
If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.